what is more heavy? Is it more heavy which God I believe, or is more heavy if I'm a good person or a bad person?
Our God and our Prophet answered that question.
But let's say the Muslim does something bad. So God will say, okay, this guy did something bad, is a Muslim. The other person didn't do anything bad, but still is going to go in hellfire, and the Muslim, even though he did a bad thing, is going to go to heaven. That's illogical for me.
No. This is exactly not the scenario.
They'll say the primer mover.
Yeah.
You know that, yeah?
Yeah.
Is it your
These are the very
Islam is like the primer mover is like similar to that, or is something completely different?
Philosophically, they've arrived that there has to be a creator, a prime mover, and we're saying the one who created all of this is the first cause of everything. As Aristotle pointed out much earlier, in philosophical reasoning, it has to be the case, because otherwise you'll have this problem of infinite regress. So eventually we come to a point that there is a creator who is necessary. Now, what other qualities does a necessary being possess?
1 second, before we go there, someone can say that God, as I say, God created, but someone can, all of these attributes that you give to God, let's say, all of these things, it might be existed in the universe itself. So itself...
Then the universe is no longer matter, it's already a creator.
How do you know that? Exactly.
Anything
if
that is...
has attributes doesn't mean that it's...
Anything that is self-aware is no longer a thing like the matter. It's now a personal being. Personal being means someone who exists, is aware of itself, and has wills to do something. I'm a person because I have a will. I can will things.
This is maybe what we think from our human perspective, but maybe the universe, it has this kind of attribute in a different way that we cannot understand now. Because I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying, kind of.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, I understand what your explanation is.
It might be God has this attribute and this will to create the world, but it might
Don't use the word God.
Not God.
The universe.
Universe or creator.
Let's say the universe is now the creator itself.
Yeah.
So the universe knows. So it has self-awareness. It wills.
Yeah.
Think about a universe that is aware of itself. It wills. And it does things by its ability. So this universe is no longer matter. It's a personal entity. Because what is a person?
But there are things in universe that they are doing things without a will. For example,
like
a river goes, for example. It doesn't
the river,
have a will to go, but it goes.
No, absolutely not. The river goes because the creator of this universe, or the universe itself, in your example, put a law there that the water will flow like this.
Okay.
The water doesn't flow anti-gravity, it flows in a different way. There's laws that are in place. Universal laws of physics, laws of chemistry, laws of biology, if I want to use this, this kind of colloquial words. Otherwise, it's the law of gravity, electromagnetism, the weak force and strong force. So what we are saying is these laws or forces are operational in the universe. That makes things behave in a certain way. When cells are in the embryo of a thing, of any creature, they know exactly, like your cell, when you are only like one zygote, and then it started dividing into 2 cells, 4 cells, 8, 16, 32, and so on, right? Each cell started differentiating and then becoming different kind of cells. The cells of your heart is not the same cell as your skin. They are different. So what happened was, the cells that will make your heart, make the tissue of your heart, which will make the heart as an organ, cell, tissue, organ, right? They started going to the place where they will stick together. Because that's where you need to make the heart. They won't go here and in your feet and so on. They know exactly where to go. And when they go there together, and they communicate with themselves, and then they form this tissue. And the tissue then forms the organ. So these can only happen if there is a law already telling them to go there. So this is what I'm saying in terms of why rivers flow in this way. Because of an existing law that tells them to behave that way. It's not doing by itself nothing, like it just does it. No. If you drop something from your hand, it will just go on the ground because the earth is heavier then any objects that you have on your hand, it will pull towards it because of a law that is operational in this universe, the laws of gravity. Yep. But if you manage to have a force that will break away from this force of gravity, you will shoot upwards. That's how we do rockets and satellites. We go into space.
Yeah.
So there is nothing in the universe that it just happens without a lawgiver putting a law and it behaves according to this law. There's nothing. Even the evolution people say it happens because of this law.
I don't believe in evolution, by the way.
Sure.
I don't believe in evolution. I don't believe in those, theories. The thing is, I agree with everything what you say. But the problem that I have is still there, which is that how do you have a proof that one theory is true over the other?
Yeah.
Because
Explanatory power.
If I say, for example, that the universe has all of this power, all of these abilities, all of these powers, and it's just the universe created all of these things. When you die, for example, some scientists, they say when you die there is nothing. I totally agree. I totally disagree with that. How the something came to existence and now you are telling us that we're going to nothing? That doesn't make any sense. Something is there, something was there, something will be there. The question is it by itself or there is a God?
Yeah.
That's the question. So I agree with everything what you say, everything I agree. Still the question is there, how you can prove intellectually or with any way that is God and is not His universe by itself.
Excellent question, Tony.
I want
It's
to
by
this exactly
it's by
point.
explanatory power. When we have an explanation, imagine now the cup you're holding. I want to know where it came. Now, an explanation could be pink flying spaghetti monsters brought in your hand, or you just went to that shop and you bought it.
Yeah.
Which has a bigger explanatory scope, which makes sense and reasonable? The pink flying spaghetti monsters, or you personally went to a shop and you bought it?
The second one, I went to the shop.
Yeah.
And
So that's
I
why
bought the coffee.
that's why we look at explanations and which has a better explanatory power.
Yeah.
The scope, it makes sense and we can accept it.
But those both theories make sense.
No, both theories, when it comes to the universe itself,
What is the mistake about the first theory?
It's not the mistake.
No mistake.
It doesn't have explanatory power like the creator has.
Why?
Because the creator is not only possessor of these four qualities, he'll have more qualities.
But the analogy you gave, the pink monster
Yeah.
and the shop, is not equal with the analogy is the creator or is the universe by itself.
No, any explanation.
Both of them, they are equal. They have equal power as explained.
In the
No?
case of universe, it's not. The universe, the moment you say it is aware of itself, okay, so it knows it exists, and it will to create,
Yeah.
okay, and it created creation that communicates,
Okay.
and it has knowledge. It built this creation with knowledge.
Yeah.
Now, does this universe, which is aware itself, does it communicate? Why should it communicate? It created creation that communicates, and even asked these questions. So you'd expect something even more attributed to the creator, that he'll be able to communicate to the creation because it's aware of itself.
This is nice argument what you are saying, and what I can say is that communication can have different ways of communicate something. I can communicate to you with my hands, I can communicate to you with a language, I can communicate to you through a book, I can communicate to you through anything, right? So the communication that the universe have given to us is the senses that we have. If I feel thirsty, the universe may be communicating to me that I have to find water. So instead of building a city in a desert, I'm going to build a city next to the water. So this is maybe the communication of the universe.
Okay,
That just
so
exists, try to survive, and that's it.
okay, so I find still this is a weaker explanation. Why? Because we have a better explanatory scope when the creator communicates, sends us prophets and messengers, gives them books, and tells us, I am the one who created you, not the universe. And it tells you, and this is my proof that I created you. So we have a better explanatory scope when you look at this communication. An example is the Quran, the final of all this communication from this creator. So we come down now to understand a better explanatory scope. The Quran tells you, if you don't think it's not a communication from the creator, then falsify it. and it gives you a falsification test.
How?
And various falsification tests. And if we fail to falsify it, then the claim that it's from the Creator still stands.
Okay.
One of the falsification tests is, it tells you that if you don't think it's from the Creator, then make something like it. Produce a book like it, 10 of its surah or chapter like it, or a chapter like one surah like it. What is so special about this? We need to understand what exactly is the Quran and what is it like, so that we can imitate it, we can actually bring something similar. When the Quran was given to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Arabia about 1445, 46 years ago, around that time period, a little bit earlier, people in Mecca, in Arabian Peninsula, in Mecca, people were speaking Arabic language. People, we know their level of excellence in that language, that they were masters in their crafting of Arabic poetry and their statements so beautifully. If, for example, you were listening to their poetry about incitement to warfare, you'll be ready to join the army to fight them. If they were describing a woman, you'll fall in love with that girl. If they were describing something sadness, tears will flow from your eyes. The power and the level of eloquence in their words, right? So we have already a setup in terms of the milieu, the level of these linguistic, in terms of the quality they have of that language. Quran came to a prophet who they knew did not know how to read or write, did not compose any poetry, any prose, any composition whatsoever, because he was bringing, it was a closed community. It wasn't like a multi-city like this. Mecca at that time, not many people, close community, they knew each other. Every day they see each other and so on. So for 40 years, they knew him, and they even knew him as the truthful one, the trustworthy one. They called him as-Sadiq al-Amin. They labeled him, or the truthful one, the reliable one. So for 40 years, they know him a person who doesn't lie, who doesn't break his trust and so on, and who's not learned any kind of oration, any literature, any composition of poetry or anything. And they had, as the scholars of Arabic language distinguish, 16 types of poetry alone in the Arabic language. They call it bihar, al-rajaz, al-tawil, al-khafif, al-madid. They have all these different types which composed of poetries in rhymes and meters. Distinct, and that's why they have 16 different types. So when the Quran came and said, look, if you are in doubt as to what we have revealed to our servant Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then produce a surah like unto it, if a doubt is true. And if you want to seek helpers and supporters to do so, accept God, asking God's help. But if you cannot do it and you won't be able to do it, then fear the fire whose fuel is man and stone. So the Quran is challenging them, the proficient among them. The lay people won't be able to do it anyway, right? The masters of language make something like what you've done. And they realized the Quran came in a unique linguistic genre that they can't match it. And this is that was a testimony. And for 1400 years, the Arabs, they testified to this, that it is totally a unique genre, you can't much like it. To give you an analogy to understand what it means, to help you, those buildings that you see in the far distance, they're made of bricks. Suppose you're an architect and I'm an architect. We make buildings. I know the basic elements that are needed: cement, rods, bricks. But when I tell you, look, I know you're an architect, you can make buildings. But my building, you can't imitate like it. You'd say, why not? I'm an architect like you two, right? What you can do, what I can do. I said, look, come and inspect my building. And you go close to my building and you see the bricks of my building, each one of them. They're made of bricks. Building is made of bricks, the same thing. But the bricks are not touching with each other. Every single brick, the wall, the ceiling, the floor, they are like floating in space, right? If that was the case, you as an architect, if I say make a building like mine, would you be able to?
If it's the case, yes, I supposed to be able.
No. Would you? Now, if I told you now and I showed you like this, would you be able to now?
No.
No, you won't be able to.
Yeah.
No one will be able to. Why? We haven't got that technology.
Yeah.
Yeah? Or the ability, or the
Yeah.
means. So you'll be incapacitated. Likewise, the analogy I gave is to understand the example of the challenge. The Quran is composed of Arabic letters. Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, Alif, Lam, Mim, Yasin,
This
Taha.
challenge is only for Arabian people to do or international?
Everyone.
International.
Everyone. Because it says, if you can't do it, then seek helpers and supporters besides God. Because you might be saying, I only speak Greek and English. I don't know Arabic. Well, go and get help from people who speak Arabic, for example. Yeah. So, what?
That's interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What the analogy shows, the Arabic experts at that time, knowing that the Quran is composed of Arabic letters and words formed by Arabic letters, sentences formed by Arabic words, and yet the way it is composed, they can't imitate it. Like the bricks, same bricks, but the composition is such a way it's not touching with each other. They weren't able to make it. That was a challenge to them to understand that this is a message from God, and it was a falsification test for them that they can falsify it if they were able to.
Okay. This is really, really interesting what you said. I'm gonna look.
Please do.
I'm gonna look more into that.
Excellent. Please
Now, let's say I'm not going back. I'm just saying, for the sake of argument, let's go with the possibility that there is a creator and is communicating with. For the sake of argument,
do. Sure.
Because I'm not sure. I'm not researching. So, for the sake of argument, there is a God. It's trying to communicate to us things. Now, this God, you say it has some attributes, right? So,
Necessary attributes.
necessary attributes.
And
Okay.
those necessary attributes has to be perfect. Because as a necessary being cannot have attributes which are deficient,
Yeah.
which are in terms of what we call faulty.
That was
Because-
my problem with Christianity, for example, because in Greece they are very
Orthodox.
devout. Yeah, devout. We call it
Devout, yeah, very devout.
Christians, and they go into the church and all of that.
Yeah.
But when I was asking questions about that, like I'm doing now to you,
Yeah.
I had a rejection. I had a little bit of, oh, why are you asking these questions? You are stupid. It's not the way to be. But yeah, the question is, if this creator tried to communicate things to us, my question is, did he communicate about the suffering
Yeah.
in the world?
Yes.
Because a problem that I have I think so it applies to Islam as well, to the Islamic God, Allah, right? If God is all loving, and if God he wants to test us and he wants to create something nice and why is existing the unnecessary suffering, not the necessary suffering? For example, if I put my hand to the fire and I burn a little bit my hand, that's good. Why? Because I'm not going to do it again. But what about babies that they're born with cancer?
Sure.
What about people that they are dying in accidents or whole families? What about all of this unnecessary that there is no any moral teaching behind that? It's just die. What is it about the unnecessary suffering says your religion?
Excellent question. This is a question that is called the problem of evil in philosophy.
Yeah, I know that.
And all religions who believed in it, they discuss this, as well as Muslims.
Yeah.
The solution that Islam provides is holistic, and it's something that you will understand that it makes sense. Why? Because we don't only believe God is all loving or all good.
Do you believe
This
it's bad?
No.
No.
If you allow me, the Christians that engage with this discussion with the philosophers, they went with their concept of God, that God is all good, God is all loving, all benevolent, and that's it. They never focused, as far as I can tell, that God is also all wise, right? God has many other attributes. He's wise. So when we see things, we as finite, limited individuals, we only see pixels. We don't see the whole picture.
Okay.
God has the whole picture, and we have the pixel. Okay? I will help you to understand with this analogy.
Yeah.
So when God created us, the first distinction between us and the angels, we are able to disobey God with our own will. This is the ability and the makeup of human creation, that humans can become disobedient to God's will. The angels, in the Islamic concept, they cannot. Whatever God commands them, they fulfill that. They cannot go against His will. In Christianity, they believe different. They believe angels fall. But imagine the angel of death, if that was the case, comes and says, I like Tony. I'll come back 50 years later, let him live. he will not fulfill his duty, right? So we believe no, God, when he assigns angels for a particular duty, they do their duty, they don't disobey God, okay?
They don't have free will.
They don't have, in that sense, okay? But of course they communicate, they understand, they question, and so on. So human beings, we have free will. Free will, as you rightly said, entails that there will be occasions where people will choose things and do bad by their free will. And bad means appearance of evil, like somebody hitting someone is an evil. But your question is not about the existence of free will and evil. Your question is, there seems to be some evil which are unnecessary. And this is where Islam says there is nothing unnecessary. It's our not understanding the wisdom behind it. And when you now go back to the example that you say what is unnecessary, we can go example by example, case by case. A child is not the one who's being tested by having cancer. It's not the child that is being tested. Because that child, God is not making that child accountable because the child has not reached the age of maturity. So any suffering that the child faces in this life will be compensated. Any suffering that anyone has, unjustly, for example, in any sense that you think of, they will be compensated. If, for example, you're innocent and someone harmed you, they broke your leg or something. Let me use this mundane example rather than harsher example. You will receive compensation by God because He's fair, because you have been victimized. So a child, if the child is suffering from cancer, the child will be compensated in the hereafter and not even remember any pain or any suffering. Because once someone is dipped into heaven or paradise for a moment, and if they're asked, did you remember, did you suffer anything? They will say nothing at all. Because it will totally wipe them from their memory everything about suffering. Because this life, 120, 30 years to the most. Hereafter, forever. So you would not remember anything. If you're in heaven, it will be all about contentment, joy, and happiness, and so on and so forth. Who is being tested then? It's the parents, it's the environment, friends, communities, whatever. Because the father and the mother, the immediate family is being tested. Are they now being patient? Are they still reliant on God or not? Various ways God can test the parents. If they're being patient and say, God has given us for a reason, we will patiently persevere and then seek help. Because God also said to the Prophet, whatever He's given us a disease, He's given a cure. Whatever disease is given, He's given a cure, except one thing. And that's death. There's no cure for death because that's inevitable. Because that's the way to go into the next phase. Yeah. To go to heaven or hell, you have to reach. You have to transition through this death. So all of these things, like say tsunami and earthquakes and so on and so forth. Some of them are the natural disasters that happen because of where things are and the way God made this earth. He doesn't want us to live in an earthquake region. You can go somewhere else. We made artificial borders around ourselves and said, oh, you're in now Cambodia or now in Japan and it's very Indonesia, so much earthquakes, you can't go anywhere else. Why did you put artificial boundaries in the first place? I could go somewhere else where there's no earthquakes. But things which is like personally, like why me? Why this suffering of a baby and others? This is being tested by something else, not the one who's being victimized. So the wisdom is there. We may not have known that wisdom. But Islam provides the whole framework that God is not only He's loving, caring, just, but He's all-wise. And through His wisdom, He set up a framework where the freedom is there to obey or disobey, as well as the mechanism to be resilient, to be resistant to all these bad choices, and patient when suffering comes and so on. Because ultimately you're being tested for, are you now going to be someone helping others? If there was no one to help who's not suffering, like someone, no one there hungry to feed, then how are you being tested? So there's a testing mechanism. Allah says in the Quran, we will certainly test them with something. It's like this. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. We shall certainly test them with, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. We shall certainly test them with some of khawf, fear. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ, of hunger, وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ, loss of, reduction of wealth and properties, and person, being something dying, or fruit and cropwards. But give glad tidings to those who are patient. Give glad tidings. وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ, give glad tidings to those who are patient. So God will test us, sometimes with hunger, sometimes with fear, sometimes with death. All of these things is a part of our testing ground. Why? Because through this we will come brave, honorable, helping, supporting, someone who will be kind, because you will develop yourself to be more brave to resist this kind of things, to be more helpful, more supportive of someone who is in need. Someone is not as rich as you are, but you can give them what they don't have. So all of these things can help you develop. So it's a development stage of your test. It's not there for no reason. It's there to make sure, as you are in your life, you develop, you grow, and then you reach a level in paradise where you can go to a higher level of paradise. Because paradise is not all equal. There are several levels of paradise. There are several levels of hellfire. God wants us, the Creator wants us to use our intellect, to develop in our souls, in our spirit, and reach the highest station. The station which is, imagine now, in heaven there is joy. But imagine there are degrees of joy. Even the lowest heaven, you can't complain. But the level higher is even more to another level, is even more than another level. Yeah? So imagine I gave you for nothing, I gave you £1,000, and I gave him £1 million, and I gave him £1 billion. Still, you're happy, but he's got 1,000 and a million, and he's got billion. Do you understand? Even if they're happy, the level of happiness is like, wow, I've got more. In heaven, this is just a crude analogy. The amount of joy and the blessing and the contentment is more and more increased in the levels of paradise. And who will be there? The prophets and the messengers will be in the highest level of paradise, called Al-Firdaus. Jannatul Firdaus. We all ascribe and we all struggle ourselves to go to that highest level of paradise, where you will see God and so on, right? But hellfire also has several levels. Some levels with less suffering, but even such suffering is unbearable. And to a level even deeper and deeper suffering. And we don't want anyone to go in any of the levels of hellfire. So yes, even though there is problem of evil in a philosophical sense, Islam provides a solution which is not only coherent, but it explains why the evil apparently or really exists.
Yeah. So you're trying to say that whoever has more suffering is going to receive more best reward in heaven?
No. What I'm saying, suffering is there to develop ourselves.
Okay.
If you didn't know what is darkness, you would not appreciate what is light. If you didn't know what is pain, you would not appreciate what is good. Yeah? What is pleasure.
But that goes.
But that it doesn't mean that you have to suffer the worst to understand the pleasure. The idea of pain is there. The idea of pleasure is there to distinguish between them.
So my question now is, there is a level of suffering, right? It's a different thing if I hit my leg, and it's a different thing if a baby dies from cancer. So in this level of suffering, there is no better reward.
Anyone that is suffering unnecessarily, in what people think, they will be rightly, duly compensated. If someone being abused and oppressed and suffering with disease which is like almost uncurable, okay? So one of the things that the Creator wants us to do is, this is sometimes actually our fault. And I'll tell you why. I'm not saying that it just happens like that. Cancer can be prevented in various ways. There's a whole, many of us studied, right? Cancer prevention. The things that you eat, the environment that you are in, the radiations that you're exposed to, this can trigger cancer, because cancer is a interference of your genetic machinery, and then there is some kind of impact, and then it's a disorder of saying, a code is saying, instead of stop, it says continue, like a brake. It doesn't have a brake anymore, and then now it continues to make more and more cells. Just to clarify that point, right? Tony, is very important. So a cancer is like it grows without stopping. Your cells becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, not bigger, more and more and more and more. It proliferates. Tumor grows bigger and bigger and bigger. When it's inside, in a place, then it obstructs the function of your vital organs, like your heart, your liver, and so on and so forth. In your brain, if you have a tumor, it will compress, and then this compression will affect the abilities and everything that you do, because this is what happens. And that's why this excessive proliferation is a bad thing. But if it's benign, for example, someone on a hand, it grows, some people live with it, no problem, right? So cancer can be sometimes caused by what we do, right? What we do. Not always, what we do. So we need to make sure that we don't get cancer and we prevent people getting from cancer.
I'm not talking about
so if somebody does have cancer, whatever reason, like babies, I'm saying there is no such thing as unnecessary in the sight of God, because there is a reason why it's there.
Okay, so my question is, why God will allow in that extent this suffering? He can give the same lessons without this so much suffering in the world.
It's like you like saying,
you know,
why?
What teaching is if a baby dies? Okay, what is the teaching behind that?
The wisdom, the test. Look, if someone's baby dies,
it's a different war, because you are a soldier and you die in the war.
It's not easy when children die for a parent. So the amount of emotional trauma that they will have and to recover from it is great. But that itself is a test. God is trying to test and make you resilient, make you stronger, make you more reliant in God, make you more patient and so on. This is how, when you go to understand this crudely, it's not the same example. If you go to a gym to do bodybuilding, it's painful. You go, you push, and you lift all these things. It's painful, but you go through it knowing that eventually this will give you bigger muscles and so on and so forth. Because what you get an outcome, how you develop yourself by experiences pains, you will say it's okay. So having that child that passes away and so on and so forth, it wasn't yours to begin with. God gave you as a gift, and He can test you in various ways. But He says, this child is not being tested. And this child, if he suffers anything, will be compensated. So what we are interested in, if anyone is suffering, are they going to receive compensation? The answer is, in such a compensation, they would not even remember their suffering. Not even remember the suffering. That's the level of compensation. Yeah.
I get your point. I get the explanation.
Yeah.
But I still have this, question in my mind that how is possible God will allow for so much suffering again? Because I'll tell you why. Because I agree, it's not about the child. I agree that this concept makes sense. God to put this child suffer a little bit, and then it's God, what Islam says, he's going to go to heaven, he's going to receive this compensation and all of that stuff. So it's okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Their parents now, that they are being tested with that thing. Let's say a parent cannot accept this thing because he's weak he's weak.
Excellent question.
You cannot blame someone because he's weak.
No, excellent question.
Thank you so much.
Do you know do you know what the solution is? I'm going to just give you the solution.
I'll complete this. So this parent now goes on suicide because he cannot accept that child is died.
Yeah.
As I said, his fault? Is the parent's fault?
Very good question.
Suicide?
Very good question. Now, the Islamic solution is this. God tells us that He does not burden any soul greater than they cannot bear. He would not give a test that they would not be able to bear it. This is the level of justice that God has created a human being. And do all parents have children with cancer? No. So whoever has anything, God knows these parents are able to bear them.
So you want to tell me that there are no parents with children died that then suicide?
What I'm saying is, they perhaps have not understood that they're able to. Do you know your potential, how much you can lift?
More or less, but not in extreme level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you knew your potential, that God tells you that you can actually lift up to this much, you can actually bear pain up to this much. When people torture in warfare,
Yeah.
when enemies are captured
Yeah.
and they torture.
You still have not said, yeah?
Some people,
Yeah.
some people
Let's see.
can bear the torture more than others. It's
Yeah.
called the pain thresholds. Like, you know, they cut your fingers and still, I'm not going to tell you secrets. Yeah. They can. So what Islam tells us, that every human being, the way they're tested, anything that we're tested with, we're able to bear it. So we know that we have that threshold of bearing that. This is the basic framework to begin with, because each framework has an assumption, right? Our fundamental assumption in this framework, which is a principle,
Yeah.
that God is just.
Yeah.
He's put you into a test that you're able to bear. He will not put you in a test that you cannot bear. Okay? So that's the framework. And a Muslim, then when he has this, look, I work in a health industry. I work with people, exactly with people who suffer this kind of problems. And I see parents who are this kind of strong and they bear patiently. And I also see who are parents who are perhaps not Muslims, not having that understanding, and they don't bear. They break down and so on.
So-
I've not seen anyone committing suicide, but I have seen people who are really break down. But that shows to me what? People haven't understood the framework. That you are a creation by a wise and just creator who's testing you with a means that you're able to be tested. If they knew that, then they will be able to live their life accordingly with that kind of framework in their understanding. And that's what most Muslims do. If you ask most Muslim parents, it's hard, it's painful, but they will be patient. They will be strong, and then they continue and live for that. And they are someone who recover from this trauma. This is the reality. But others don't, because they haven't understood Islam. They have the message of Islam. So it's only not just about suffering. They have to understand the whole package, that you are a creation of a creator. You need to submit to your creator to live this life accordingly so that you can avoid yourself from the hellfire. Once they understand the whole framework and accept as a Muslim, then their outlook will change. But you can't just simply change an outlook by saying, you will be able to bear this, when the whole package is missing. And that's why there are many people, rightly so as you said, they can't bear it. And they commit something like unthinkable. Okay? They take their own life away, so on. But we are saying no. God tells us this is, in fact, committing suicide is one of the worst sin, because it's not yours to begin with. Life was what we call an amana, which is a trust entrusted on you by God. Look after it. Don't kill yourself with your own hands. Don't take it away, right? Look after, maintain it, and then when the time comes, you will die, right? But if you take yourself, because whenever the time comes, it will come, but don't make it that you are actually saying, I'm going to at that time kill myself. Then you'll be guilty, you'll be sinful. God doesn't want you to simply say, I can't take it anymore, because you can. Because you don't know your worth yet. You know how you can develop yourself, how you can be strong and patient and kind and just, but people don't think about themselves. They just go by the flow and go by the fashion. Like, everyone cheats, I'm going to cheat. Everyone lies, I'm going to lie. No. Go against this fashion and trend, but develop yourself spiritually and physically, and be a person who is a good submitter to God, a good Muslim, in which all the qualities that you expect, you want to be. Kind, compassionate, strong, patient, brave, and so on. All of that is inculcated. And that, you know what that concept is called in Islam? Guess. It's called jihad.
Jihad, yeah.
That is the struggle of developing yourself to make yourself better.
People think jihad is like
Exactly. It's like go and fight and so on.
Kill.
That is a level where you open up areas of obstacle to bring Islam to the people. That's it. But this is jihad of your own self. Struggle to make yourself better.
so jihad means to
Struggle.
like to struggle, to fight.
Jihad means to struggle.
Yeah.
Struggle in the sense of being positive, make yourself better. When you do jihad of a state, they want to make Islam accessible to other people who are becoming an obstacle. Okay? So just open up. That's how they went in the past. Yeah. So
That's very interesting points.
yeah. So ultimately, I had to put that side point in, because that's exactly what we do, struggling to get ourselves better.
Yeah.
So when it comes now Islam, the whole concept, if you examine more and more about it, you will see it resonates with your heart and mind. It's like you're in the same frequency. Why? Because it comes from the Creator. If it doesn't come from the Creator, you will find it doesn't make sense. How can God be three in one?
Yeah.
How can God have a son and then he kills him?
Of course.
Because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't appeal to your heart and your mind.
Yeah.
But look at the Islamic concept that he is قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, that he is one and only and unique. Allahu Samad, he is absolute, independent, self-sufficient. Lam yalid wa lam yulad, he doesn't produce children, neither is he born. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ, and there's no comparison with him, no co-equal with him. There's nothing like unto him. Look at the concept of God.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
I'll make a statement. I'll say, look, Islam is more deeply and more philosophical, and it makes more sense than Christianity, in my opinion. Because Christianity has a couple of things that you cannot. I'm a practical person, and I like to see some evidence. As I say, not the evidence that the atheists or scientists are saying, that they want you to bring God here. And no, I want to see intellectual evidence. So, do you have any evidence in the Quran, like for example, like practical evidence, like scientific evidence or anything else, that someone can say, oh, that is interesting, for example, I will have a look on it. For example, I heard in Hinduism, there is a prediction, prophecy, that they're gonna be at some point like aeroplanes, something like that.
Okay.
Or, do you have anything like that?
Yeah, and much more. So
I'm giving you an example. I don't know what
no.
they say.
Even if it says
Do you understand
Islam, look, the way Islam, firstly to acknowledge why there can be many examples of remnants of truth, astonishing truth in other religions. Why? Let's clarify that first, and then I'll come to positive evidence for Islam, as you said.
Yeah.
We believe as God is one, the necessary being, created the first human being. From that human being, we came as children. So we are all children of Adam. This is Islamic standpoint. Okay? All of us, we are related. Doesn't matter if you are white or brown, we're all related. We're all the way going back to Adam, the first human being. As time went by, people become isolated in groups. So they were given guidance by raising a person from among themselves as a prophet and a messenger, telling them the same thing. Why they're here, what's going to happen to them, and where they're going to end up, and who should they believe and who should they worship. One God. One and only, worshipping that one God, avoiding worshipping anything else. This has always been the case. Communities had that. God tells us two things very importantly, that وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا, that God does not, he says, punish any nation unless he sends a messenger, a warner, a prophet. So he tells us, because it's just, he does not punish any nation, makes them accountable, unless there is a messenger telling them what to do and not to do. And then he tells elsewhere in the Quran that he sends prophets and messengers to all nations. So these two things tells us that there is not a community that did not receive message from God. So that's why we find remnants of the belief even in an African jungle somewhere, or a Brazilian, Amazonian jungle. People believe there's a superpower someone up there. What happened was, as people lived and followed that message from that messenger, warner, it got diluted and corrupted, distorted later on by people. Because imagine the message says, be good, speak the truth, and somebody comes along and says, that's not going to help me, because I want to lie and cheat to become greater, right?
Yeah.
So they started corrupting the text, and then the religion becomes corrupted. Sometimes God in the same nation sends more than one messenger, like the Jewish people had so many messengers and prophets in the same nation. So that's why when prophets and messengers came, they came with proof and evidence. Some of them were astonishing evidence. So if you do see, like in the Bible or the Hindu religion, something amazing, it's because these are the remnants of the truth and astonishing and amazing information that still are there from those prophets and messengers. But what we're saying, the only distinction between Islam and all the previous religion, Islam is the last of them. We need to follow the last messenger and the prophet, because that's where the will of God is expressed. If we want to submit to the will of God, the will of God is expressed through a prophet and messenger telling them what you do not to do. So the final messenger is what we should be following. Islam provides, through the final messenger, levels and degrees of proof for its veracity or truthfulness. The first one was the Prophet when he challenged people, being unlettered, 40 years old, not knowing how to read and write, bringing a composition like the Quran, they can't match it. It was an evidence for the people that it has to be from God, because no one can do it, well, even to this day. There's other falsification tests. The Quran says if it is not from God, a book, as you know, that describes so many things of the past, the present, and the future, which I'll give some examples about, talks about astrophysics and biology and history and botany. It is bound to make mistake if it's from a human being at that time, 400 years ago. So the Quran says if it wasn't from God, you will find within it many ikhtilafan, many discrepancies, many inconsistencies, many contradictions, many errors. There you go. It offers you a challenge. If you read this book deeply, it says أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. If you ponder deep reflection on this book, if it wasn't from God, you'd find contradictions and discrepancies within it.
Yeah.
So it invites people to look for errors and inconsistencies. If they find one, two propositions which are contradictory, then by the Quranic standards, it cannot be from God. People to this day, they are welcome to find contradictions. No one is able to. We have been coming in this park online, offline, describing this challenge to falsify the Quran. Find the contradiction. If you go on the internet,
Contradiction, you mean in scientific or
any kind,
Any kind.
any kinds where two propositions are truly contradictory.
okay?
Yeah. So there could be an error, like it says, you know what, the Earth is really flat. The Earth is not flat.
It's round. Contradiction.
No, the Earth round is not even true, because the Earth is not round. It's flat on the both sides, top and the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but it's not flat at all. But if a book said, including the Quran, the Earth is flat,
It's mistake.
it cannot be from God, because
Yeah.
God knows what the shape is like. So the Quran offers this kind of falsification test. There were many attempts in the internet, you'll see, from by critics. And look at the response of the Muslims. None of them stands to scrutiny. They've misunderstood. They didn't understand what it's saying. They didn't understand what the science is saying, and so on. But it also gives us other positive evidence. These are falsification tests to falsify. So the Prophet gave many miraculous things, historically recorded. He told, to give you some examples. He says, for example, you know what? In this battle that is happening, first it will be this person who will die, and then the next person, and the next person. In a battle of that time, you can't predict something who's going to die and when. And this, besides what happened. This is one example out of many. He told about, this is one thing that's quite relevant now. He says, in the future, what will happen is, the barefooted Bedouins, they will be competing with each other in building tall buildings. Barefooted Bedouins. Where are the tallest building now?
I think in Dubai.
In Dubai, Burj Khalifa and others. Who are the people making it? These were the Bedouin Arabs. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, they didn't have shoes to wear because they are nomads, Bedouins.
These things that you're saying, is it written down?
Yes.
Is it there? Yeah.
It is there. It is there.
I'll have a look on that.
Have a look at it. It's well known. It is a well-known example Muslim site, and by searching in the internet you'll find about it.
Sure.
So the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like this: the barefooted Bedouins, they will be competing with each other, against each other, building tall buildings, and that's exactly what is happening. Okay, even though this is one of the signs of near the end of times, right? It doesn't mean the world's going to come to an end one day. It's not forever. So the Prophet explained there are many signs before the world comes to an end. There will be the Antichrist, the false Messiah that will come. Jesus will return also, right, to kill that false Messiah, Antichrist. There will be, lots of different things. Other things will happen before the world comes to an end. Various signs.
Yeah.
So this is a prediction. One of the predictions the Quran offered is astonishing to the least. This is about Surah Ar-Rum, Surah number 30, right? The Quran says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, غُلِبَتِ الرُّوم. The Romans have been defeated. So it refers to an historical event during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when he was alive, when there was the Byzantine Empire and the Persian Empire, when they were fighting with each other in their battle. It has a long sequence of battles between them. At one point, it says the Romans have been defeated. At that time, the Persians became victorious. But the Quran says this. The Quran says, they are defeated now in the nearest or the lowest land, but they will soon regain victory. Bid'i sinin is an Arabic phrase, but it means a period between 3 to 9 years. They will be victorious again. Think about what the Quran is saying. The Arab, they have no interest in this warfare. A prophet who's claiming to be a prophet from the Arabs, he's now saying the Romans have been defeated between the two superpowers of the day, because that's what it was. Two superpowers. The Byzantine Romans and the Persians. The Romans have been defeated, but they will regain victory within this exact time frame. What are the likelihood that they become victorious actually the next year, or they don't be victorious 20 years later, or they don't become victorious again? So many possibilities. Because in a superpower battle and warfare, you don't know exactly what's going to happen. Very unpredictable. It's like saying, for example, at that time, imagine I make a prediction. London next year will become independent, city of London, become independent, and you'll become the superpower. America will collapse, it will become all fragmented states, there will be no world order, and London will be ruling the world. If I make a prediction, you will say, the possibility that happening is very, very probability low. Because what is the indication that London will be like that, and it will all do this? There are no indications about it. Okay? There are more other superpowers and so on and so forth. But if it did happen, then you'll be saying, what made him that prediction? He must have some super duper intelligence, knowledge and so on. So the Prophet of Islam, what did he have? From who did he know this information that this will happen? And this precisely happened, and believers, as the Quran says, they will be happy. You'll see the rejoicing. Believers will rejoice. And that exactly happened. Think about this now logically. If someone is an imposter, a fake prophet, not a real prophet of God, if he's trying to make prophethood to be on his benefit, he would not risk by making such predictions and it ends up false. That's it all for him. Yeah, he won't do that.
Yeah.
Why is prophet doing this? So that tells you he must know something, as he claims to be. He receives knowledge from God through revelation, as he says. When an eclipse happened, right? Solar eclipse or lunar eclipse, I can't remember exactly. It happened exactly when his son Ibrahim died. If he was a fake prophet, golden opportunity to say, look, don't you see? I'm telling you, I'm the prophet of God, and even the sun or the moon is now eclipsing because my son has died. But do you know what the prophet said instead? The sun and the moon, they don't eclipse for people's birth and death. These are the signs of God. So whenever you see this, worship God. Worship God, the creator of the sun and the moon. He had an opportunity as a fake prophet, but that shows even his character goes against being fake. So when you examine his character, things that he says and does goes against someone trying to have a motive to become beneficiary by making some kind of wealth and money and so on and so forth.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested, if it's possible from you to give me some evidence that is it about the close Arabian people, because this is is a little bit close in his own community over there.
But he's talking about Byzantine,
about the battle, about the buildings. This is very
right.
interesting.
Let me give you some
Do
more.
you have any more
Let me give you some more.
Like this kind?
Yeah. The things that you describe, I'll give you exactly like this.
Sorry to
The
interrupt,
Quran. No. That's absolutely fine. You've been a pleasure speaking to.
Me too.
The Quran describes ما جعل الله لرجل من قلبين في جوفه. Something along this ayah. If I'm mistaken, maybe I have not forgotten the exact sequence of the wordings. God has not placed in man two hearts in his inside, right? Jawf means in what's inside him. Do you know why this is so important? as a falsifier. Because there are actually two hearts in a human being. Have you seen people with a human being with two hearts? Yeah, pregnant women. The baby is developing, the heart's beating. So is the mother's heart. Two hearts in the one human being. But the word the Quran uses, مَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِرَجُلٍ, that God has not placed hearts in man. Rajul means a grown-up man, an adult man. There is no adult man who has two hearts that he made naturally, not artificial that you put yourself, but as you are born with, nothing like that. There are occasions recorded in medical history, children born with two hearts or joined together, but they never survive to adulthood. Even to this day, as we know. So this is a falsifier. God is saying He has not placed, مَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِرَجُلٍ, He has not placed two hearts in a man. And that's exactly the case. Coming back again, precision of words. God describes the example of a believer and the example of disbeliever. In this case, is a disbeliever. That is like the layers of darkness is in the ocean. Darkness topped with darkness, above which are clouds. Yeah? The layers of darkness. First, there are waves upon waves, and then there are clouds. So we understand there are clouds up there. We understand in a deep, it talks about deep ocean by there. Bahrul Lujji, in a deep ocean, not in shallow seas. So we know what a cloud looks like, cloud is. We know the surface waves, that's where we do our surfing. But it says waves beneath it. You can't go in a dark ocean and see interoceanic waves. But they exist. They're real. It's called deep sea currents. You can search about it. Interoceanic waves or deep sea currents. If you go up space with a satellite, you can observe them. If you are a good diver, you can't observe it. You can't. So it's impossible for someone 1400 years ago to have known there are deep sea currents, and the Quran describes deep sea currents. The Quran describes the state of a disbeliever is like someone who is ascending up to a sky and his heart is so constricted. The highest mountain in Saudi Arabia, you can go up, you don't feel anything. You don't need oxygen to go up. So the Prophet is describing, if he's from himself, how does he know that? Because that's exactly what happens. When you go high up in sky, like if you go to Kilimanjaro or Everest, or in space, not only you feel it's constricted because of the pressure up there, you need oxygen support, but physically your heart does get constricted. It changes shape. I didn't know that until very recently. Your heart, actually, the muscles, they change shape. It rearranges, configures itself. Constricted, it becomes constricted. And it describes a phenomena, and that's reality. The Quran describes, I'm just giving you again all of the description Quran uses as examples and analogies. It says, look, those who ascribe partner to God, okay? God says, you know what? Here's a parable for you, a parable. So listen to it. Listen to it carefully. Those who ascribe partners unto God, they won't be able to create a fly. Even if the fly were to snatch anything from them, they will not be able to retrieve it. How weak is the one that is seeking and the one that is sought. What's so special about this is, it's not that no one can create a fly. All these atheists and people who are with God, we know that they can't. Not in a lab, not anywhere. But what it's describing about, even if the fly were to snatch something away, they will not be able to retrieve it. Why not? Do you know why we can't? If we now go, do you know how the fly eats?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll tell you. The fly has something like a tongue-like structure called a proboscis.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Like a mosquito.
Ah, yeah. So what it does, through this proboscis, it spits a digestive enzyme, a chemical, to the food first. That food is being cooked already outside it, processed, because of the digestive enzyme, the acid. And then it sucks it in. So if it takes it inside, the food is already digested. Can you retrieve your food? Impossible. Can you unfry an egg? You can't. When you fry an egg, the shape's changed. The protein has this changes its three-dimensional structure. It's no longer the egg that you see. It's changed something to a fried egg. When the fly puts the digestive enzyme, the food is already processed halfway and takes in, it's no longer retrievable. How did the Prophet know this? People didn't know this, even recently.
Yeah. No, it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have a look into
Yeah,
it.
so let me give you some there,
Sorry?
he's reminding me of the many more examples of
This kind of
this nature, where from natural phenomena, when the Quran describes, like for example, the Quran says,
You can give me these examples and then I have one more question.
No,
In different topic, but you can continue.
let's say this is enough examples, but
Yeah.
you can actually look into it. There's many examples about the
Sure.
scientific miracles. I won't say it's a miracle, because science and miracles, they don't go hand in hand. I say amazing scientific information in the Quran that requires an
Yeah.
explanation.
And by the way, when I say scientific, I don't mean that I take science like the ultimate reality. Because science today says this, tomorrow they say something else.
Ever changes.
It changes.
Yeah.
But what I like about science is that they are admitting that we do not know,
Yeah.
and they are admitting that we are making mistakes to become better.
Yeah.
This is what I like about science.
Me too.
Therefore-
We all do.
Therefore, but I don't believe that is the ultimate way of knowing everything.
It has its scope and
It has
limitation.
scopes and limitations and
Yeah.
other things. So,
Brother, it's okay. We've given enough examples. Now we'll hear something different.
So I have another,
Jazakallah
I have another question now, which is more about the structure of the religion and how so God create this thing, this existence, and this, bring all of us to existence and everything to test us. Is that correct?
So the ultimate
sense.
purpose is a test.
Okay.
But test is not just test. He wants us to live in this earth, created to make us live, happily, joyously, comfortably, in harmony, in tolerance. But within that, a test is being used so that the next life that you can transition to.
Sure. So, what do you think when I die, if I die as a disbeliever, as you say, where do you think I'm going to go?
Sure. So the Quran explained this very clearly and categorically, right? So the religion in the sight of God, acceptable. Religion means a way of life. Inna ad-dina 'inda Allah al-Islam. وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَا يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. The way of life, the deen, the religion, the ideology that is acceptable in the sight of God is al-Islam, meaning absolute and pure, sincere submission to Him. That's the one that's acceptable. Whoever chooses any other way of life, ideology, religion, it will never be accepted of them, and in the hereafter there will be one who are the losers, among the losers. So anyone, after hearing, these are the conditions, after hearing about Islam, knowing about Islam, understanding about Islam, and then rejecting it, they are the ones who have rejected Islam. They will not be going to heaven. They will be the ones who will be the losers. The condition is to know, to understand, and to reject.
Okay, so God, in other sense, sent the Quran, in the earth, in the humans, to make them pass the test, to help them pass the test, right?
Absolutely.
Something like that, yeah?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be better for God, a better test, to test my heart. If He says, okay, Tony, me, he doesn't know if God exists or not, but he still chooses to do good. Why God is focusing so much if I believe in Him or not, and He doesn't focus on if I do good or a bad thing? Because if let's say some Muslim, we have Muslims here, yeah, they say I'm doing good because I will go to heaven. Doesn't mean that you have a good heart. You're doing it to take a reward. You are not doing it from your heart. But me, if I do something good, because I do not know if God exists and what sense exists and all of that stuff, and I say again, I'm not an atheist, I'm an agnostic, big difference that. God wouldn't say, okay, Tony didn't understand that I exist, but he still chooses to do good, so I'm going to put him in heaven. Why is God saying is so, no, I don't know how, he's giving too much, I don't know how to put it, too much weight on the issue if I believe in him or not. What about a person which is in the jungle? What about a Christian? What about someone else which is a good person, but he didn't understood because of his family, because of anything?
Yeah.
You understand my question?
Yeah, precisely. And this is a very good question. So let me just break this question up so you understand.
Big question, sorry about
No, it's okay. Someone is good, maybe haven't reached the message of Islam, born in a Christian family, Hindu family, Jewish family, whatever, and then trying to do his good, and what's the big deal that he has to go? Look, all of this is linked with whether you acknowledge God is your creator and you are subservient and submitting to his will, yeah, and live your life accordingly. Being good is something that is instilled within you regardless. So even if you're atheist, whatever, you have that goodness because it's already instilled. God says, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. He says, he has inspired within you the good and the bad. Yeah? Successful are the ones who purify it. And of course, the ones who are the losers, the ones who's not able to purify their hearts and they follow the wickedness and so on and so forth, right? So what is good is something that is already within our makeup, so that mankind cannot then make an excuse later saying, I didn't know what it's good about. Okay? It's already instilled within us. So that's not the test in total. The test is, do you acknowledge and are you grateful to the one who created you? And are you now submitting and say yes? Because before we are created, Islam tells us, we already acknowledge our God as our creator. God says, Alastu bi rabbikum? Qalu bala. Am I not your Lord? They said yes. When? When God brought all the souls together from the loins of Adam. Every human being that ever going to be created. And then he testified of them. Am I not your Lord? And then God says in the Quran why he did that. So that you can't say that we didn't know. One, or it was our father's religion and so on and so forth, and we followed them. So it takes away from this kind of objections and excuses that I didn't know. Every human being knows there's a creator. It gets clouded. The Prophet said every human being is born, every child, is born in the state of that disposition called fitra, natural disposition. It's the family, the parents, that makes them a Jew, a Christian, a fire worshipper, and so on. Conditioning. If they were not conditioned, they will be brought up as worshipper of one God. Okay? So the environment, the family, is a huge impact factor for them to believe in something different. So what God wants us when he created us, we know that he is our creator, and sometimes it comes clear to us in situations where we focus very differently. Let me give you an example. Someone is in a plane and the plane is about to crash. The pilot is dead and there's no one to fly. It's not an autopilot. He can't go in. Engines on fire. No one to help. People on that plane, every single one of them. There might be someone who's an atheist, but I can tell you, they're not going to say, Donald Trump, help me. Because Donald Trump can't help them. They're not going to say, oh, Batman, Superman, help me. Oh, Teenage Ninja Turtles, help me. Because they know these won't be able to help them at all. But one thing they will do, the Quran actually describes this in a ship. The Quran describes that in a ship. The ship is sailing. Nicely, of course. Then comes the wind. And now you can all see the turmoils. The ship is about to sink. And they all turn to God. Help us. Save us from this. In the plane, they'll turn to God. The God that doesn't exist, why are they turning to him? They turn to him because they know he exists and they know he's the one who will be able to help them. And they help, they cry. And then when God helps them, then say, you know what? It was someone else that steered the plane or the ship from sinking, and they think we've done it ourselves. They become ungrateful to God when God helps them. Throughout, the Quran gives many examples like this. So at that time, in a situation like this, people's internal belief manifest clearly in front of them, and they speak.
I understood.
Yeah. So what I'm
Yeah.
saying, the point. I'm just
Sorry,
going to finish
yeah,
this
yeah,
quickly because you had a very comprehensive question.
Sorry.
So the belief is already instilled within us about God exists and God is one. He's the one who can help us. So the role here is not to just believe in Him. You already know He exists. Is to actually submit to Him willingly and sincerely and follow Him, His will. Whatever He says is good. Whatever He says don't do is for us to abstain from it. Okay? So the good and bad comes from already inside as well as what God legislates through His prophets and messengers. This is what one needs to do. And this is the test. If you say, look, I believe and I'm good, this is not your test. Because you already should believe in God in the first place. The question is not about God doesn't exist. He exists, you know it. You've covered it up with some dust, some distractions, whatever. You need to submit to God, and submission is what about being grateful to Him. If somebody gives you so many things, all these blessings, right? He gives you so much things, you be grateful to Him. God gave you all of that thing. He gave you a stomach, the food, the water, the air, the heart, the liver, all of that for you to live comfortably, happily. And we will not be grateful? Being grateful is what God wants us to do as a part of a test. Are you being grateful or not? He even says, إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلَ إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. He has shown people two ways, both the ways. Okay? Whether you're grateful or ungrateful. Look how just He is. He wants you to be grateful, but He even shows you both the ways. These are the ways that will lead you to heaven, and this is the way that will lead to hellfire. Whether you're grateful or not, He's shown you. But He wants you to be taking the path that will go to heaven, and the way to do that is by being grateful to Him. This is an appreciation that you need to do as a part of your test. So it's not just merely enough to say, I am good, I am charitable, I am truthful. No. You need to demonstrate in this life that you have that you are actually submitting to God in that sense.
I get this concept, the concept, but where I have a problem with that is that why is it so important? What are you believing and not? What is more heavy? In others, if I explain correctly, what is more heavy? Is it more heavy which God I believe, or is more heavy if I'm a good person or a bad person?
Our God and our Creator Prophet answered that question. Every human being's actions are being written down by scribes, angelic scribes.
I mean, God can punish me, can tell me, Tony.
Let me answer your question.
You are stupid. You didn't understand I exist, but still you are a good person.
Tony, I'm answering your question, right?
Yes,
about
question,
heaviness, about heaviness. So all our actions are written down, whether good or bad. These actions will be all weighed in a scale in the day of judgment, so that you will see and say that we are not being victimized of being unjust victim. You will see in the scale the heaviest of the good deeds. The heaviest of the good deeds is that acknowledgement, La ilaha illallah, that there is nothing worthy of worship except the one and only God. That statement carries so much weight, it will outweigh everything in your good deeds and your bad deeds. So someone who doesn't have that good deed in his scale, instead he has what? Stubbornness and arrogance and rejection, or even what we call shirk, associating partners with God, saying, I'm okay by myself, I don't need God. Yeah? That's an associating, like makes your own self as God. The Quran describes, have you not seen the person who takes his own desire as God? Yeah? So that kind of action is a bad action. It will be scaled all the way down in the bad action. So to go to paradise, you have to have a scale with good deeds heavier. The Quran describes vividly in graphic form this thing when a scroll will be given. The people will have the scroll about all their deeds. In the right hand are the people of paradise. The left hand are not the people of paradise. The scale of the good has to be the heaviest. And the heaviest deed is La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. No God except God. No God worthy of worship except God. Someone who doesn't believe in God and tries to be good, they don't have that. So to go into paradise, you have to know what are the keys to paradise. And that's the key key missing. Using the word twice. It's a key, important key that is missing to go into paradise. So this is where the Islamic framework tells you that it is not enough simply to be good, because do you have the key to paradise, which is the weightiest of good.
But I'm insisting in that, in a sense of, wouldn't be better to test your heart if you do not know? Because let's say, I will give you an example. We have a Muslim, believes in God, is doing some good deeds and stuff and everything, and you have someone which is not Muslim, the same, that it does a couple of good things and everything. But let's say the Muslim does something bad. So God will say, okay, this guy did something bad, is a Muslim. The other person didn't do anything bad, but still is going to go in hellfire. And the Muslim, even though he did a bad thing, is going to go to heaven. That's illogical for me.
No. This is exactly not the scenario.
Okay.
A disbeliever, by not listening to God, is a disobedient person. It's a bad thing. Being disobedient to God's command is a bad action that you're committing. So when you say he didn't do anything, a disobedient person has already committed an actions of bad. When Satan...
Let's say he didn't understood.
That's a different question.
Because you are saying...
That's a different scenario altogether. So let me explain all of this.
Because someone might have
Remember what we said, Tony?
Yeah.
Tony. There's two things. One is someone who rejects God, knowing and understanding it, and rejecting it. Remember what I said?
Yes.
No, understand and reject. If somebody didn't know or didn't understand, you can't treat them exactly equally, because the truth has not come to them. Either because there is a deficiency in their understanding, maybe incapacitated. So God tells us, so you are talking about exceptional cases where people either have not heard the message of Islam in a Brazilian jungle somewhere, close tribe, no prophet went there, for example, see, God tells us he doesn't punish those people who did not receive a messenger telling them. Okay? They might be isolated later on at some point. Because God is just, he only accounts to people, number one, who has reached the level of maturity, knowing the distinction between good and bad, right and wrong, truth and falsehood. So you can't judge a child of 1 day old because that child does not have the capacity.
So why, when I ask you where I'm going to go, you told me hellfire?
No, I didn't say you're going to hellfire. I said anyone who knows, understands, and then rejects. That's what God says about them. So if you've understood and rejected it,
Sorry.
So no problem. Secondly, anyone that, even though they're adult, but they're incapacitated because they are mentally insane, they are not accountable.
Okay.
So God tells us these are exceptions because He's just. Anyone who doesn't have the message, they will not be on the same. So they're treated differently. Now, how they're treated differently, there are lots of scenarios. In scenarios where they will be, in the day of judgment, they'll have their own tests. Okay? Their own test. And they will be tested. But there's a factor that is already important implied within this. Anyone who has reached the age of maturity, did they use the faculty of the intellect that God provided? If they did not, they've already failed the test. Why is it so important? God tells us in Surah Al-Mulk, it says like this, something like, it says, every time a group is taken into the hellfire, dragged into chains by the angels, the angels will say, Alam ya'tikum nadhir, did they not come warn us to you? And they will say, قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير فكذبنا وقلنا ما نزل الله من شيء. They said, yes, they came and we denied them, we rejected them. And we said, God does not reveal anything. But then they will confess and they will say, وَقَالُوا لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعُ أَوْ نَعْقِلُ ما كنا في أصحاب السعير فاعترفوا بذنبهم فسحقا لأصحاب السعير. They will say, had we listened to the prophets and messengers, of course, and their ambassadors, أو ناقل, or we used our aql, our intellect, we would not have ended up in this detestable, miserable place. So when even the angels are asked them, they will confess, had we used our aql. And God tells us throughout the Quran, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ أَفَلَا يَعْقِلُونَ, would you not use your aql? Would you not use your intelligence with your intellect? There is no excuse for anyone not using the intellect, because if you had used the intellect, you would have known that there definitely is a creator. Creator is the necessary being, absolute and one, worthy of our adoration, respect and reverence.
So you want to tell me that there are people in the world that they know if they reject Islam, they will go to hellfire forever. They are 100% sure about it, and they will still insist to say Islam is false.
Yeah, even
I don't believe that.
Look,
I
even
believe that these people,
look,
they have an argument, and they didn't understand.
their argument.
If you are true, if your concept of Islam is true, those people, maybe they misunderstood the message, or they maybe have a different argument. But I don't believe anyone
The message
who understands and believes that, oh my God, I'm going to go to
Tony.
hellfire for eternity, is going to reject this message. I
Tony,
don't believe that.
Tony,
That will happen.
Tony, there are
With all due
people,
respect.
there are
Even
people.
me. Do you think I'm lying now?
Look, once, no, I'm not saying you're lying.
No, I'm not.
What I'm saying, you haven't understood what I'm trying to say. Okay, this is the fault on my part. Let me explain.
No. I mean, maybe
No, no.
I misunderstood because excuse my English as well.
It's okay. Let me explain. Anyone who's heard of the message, heard about Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his message, understood it and rejected it, that means they know what Islam says, that you should not worship anyone else but God alone, that you should follow and submit your will to the will of God. Knowing that, seeing the message, seeing the evidence for it, and still rejects it, like every week. In fact, after this conversation, if you follow me, you will see how obviously this is the case.
Yeah.
We give them the evidence and they reject it. Why? Because I'm gonna follow Jesus Christ because I love him so much. God is love, and this. They know and they understand the evidence and they still reject it. It's happening in front of our eyes. So those people we are talking about, understanding the evidence. Remember, they have to understand the evidence.
I don't think anyone will understand that if they reject Islam, will go to hellfire, and they will
please,
still reject it. Because it's a big punishment.
You know that doesn't make sense. I agree with you.
Even if you tell me
Tony.
you go through the red light and you will pay £100, I'm thinking
listen,
of it.
Tony, I will now tell you exactly something shocking, just to demonstrate where is our difference in this point. Do you know people smoke? Anyone?
Yeah.
Right. What does it say in the cigarette pack?
Smoking will kill you.
Smoking kills. Smoking causes cancer. Do people still smoke? Okay. Now he's chosen to nicotine only. Now, those people who smoke, do they not know how to read what it says smoking kills?
Smoking kill.
Do they know what it says?
Yeah.
Despite knowing, understanding, they reject that message. They keep smoking. Why? Because it's not that they did not understand what it says. They did not understand the consequence what it says, but something else driving them because it makes them happy. Because it's an addiction. It's something else other than misunderstanding message. So this is a very classical example of why people, even they know what the message is, the consequence of the message, they will still persist on smoking. So many people persist in their disbelief, even though they know what Islam says, the evidence of Islam, the consequence of rejecting it, and they will still not believe in it.
You could say the same thing about Christianity then. You could say the same exact, your argument, you could say the same thing. Yes, I am.
When you say about Christianity, I can give my evidence why I can reject it, because the evidence of Christianity is shallow, weak, shallow. Just to finish my point. The evidence of Christianity, which is demonstrable to you in front of you right now, why it's shallow, weak and feeble, and it's not believable. And that's why I can reject it. If it was the case where I cannot have a pushback against any evidence you give, then I am being stubborn and arrogant. But if I were to show you whatever you give is not an evidence at all, in fact the evidence is to the contrary, then I have my case. I'll come back to you in a second. We can talk about it if you want.
If it takes too long, guys,
No, it's okay.
continue. Is that okay?
I'm fine.
Because I can stay
Continue.
here the night. I like this conversation.
Look, Tony.
If it's okay for you, you can stay.
Continue what we are describing now
I
about
forgot what I was saying.
what I said about
Say it.
your point about what about those people who don't believe in God
Yes.
and still do good? I asked a question about it. To believe in or disbelieve, this is also not being good, to disbelieve.
Yeah.
Yeah? So it's not that those people are good and they haven't done anything bad. Not believing in God and not obeying His command is a bad action.
What I want to say about that,
Yeah.
in my case, for example, even if you tell me the punishment will be, if you go through a red light, we'll give you £100 fine and 3 points in your license,
Yeah.
I will be terrified and I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
We're talking about, something small. It's not something very big. Now we're talking about the hellfire.
Exactly.
You're going to be forever in the
Forever and
hellfire.
forever.
Someone has understood that. You want to say, this is what the argument here is.
Yeah.
Someone understood that, yes, I'm going to go to the hellfire, but still I want to smoke. Doesn't exist that. If smoking was causing you to go to the hellfire forever and you truly believe that, you truly understood that,
Yeah.
you will say, I'm quitting smoking yesterday, not today. I'm quitting.
Look, I understand
You
and
understand the-
appreciate your
So-
sentiment, but what I'm saying is the reality is there are people like that. The reality is,
Really?
yes, when Prophet's uncle,
Never see anyone.
the Prophet's
No, this is
uncle,
different. I'm saying,
okay,
maybe they disbelieve.
Prophet's uncle, one of his uncle, you know what happened to one of his uncle?
Yeah.
He said, I know it's the truth, but he didn't accept it.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. That's why I'm saying it's difficult for us to actually understand. Just like how I find it difficult to see why people still smoke. It tells you it kills and
But
they
the,
still
the
smoke.
consequences is not that big with smoking. Someone
It's-
smokes is okay after he smokes it again. So
But
it's
it's
that again.
facts over feelings.
Because
Sometimes the mind actually
because-
rationalizes things after a feeling. So you feel something first, and then you post-rationalize it.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily
I
actually.
didn't understand that. Sorry.
So
Explain a bit.
Sorry.
Explain it.
so this is a universal human thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You feel something first, and then you go back and then you look at facts that justify that feeling, and that's how you then rationalize what it is that you feel.
Okay.
You're not going at it from the correct angle, which is you look at the facts objectively, and then you weigh those for what they are, and then arrive at a conclusion. So this is why someone who wants to smoke, they're going based on their feeling. They feel something first, and then they rationalize it afterwards. Based on what they feel. They're not going by the facts, they're going by feelings.
That's one case of people.
Yeah.
But I'm talking of another case of people that they're seeking the truth. Like for example me, I'm seeking the truth. I want to understand. I'm speaking
Remember,
with Muslims.
I am not talking about your case. I'm
No,
talking
I
about
understand.
people,
Yeah.
people who have to come back to your point. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what God says exactly about people like yourself, in a positive way. Okay. I didn't say people like yourself in a bad way. In a very positive way. The Prophet ﷺ gave us an example about a person who is searching the truth. In his search of this truth, he was told to go to that person. Okay? And while before he went to that person, he died. Because he says, if you go there, you'll know the truth. And he died at that point. The angels came to take away. I'm going to take him to hell, I'm going to take him to heaven, because now he died disbelieving. So they're disputing. I mean, this is an analogy for us to understand this scenario.
Yeah.
Then what God says, okay, fine. Why don't you measure the distance from where he is to the place he's going, okay, to destinations or not? Is it closer to how he's been, or is it far? If it's closer, then of course you take him to heaven because he's already there. And if I remember correctly, the distance was made even shorter. Why? Because of the grace of God, because he's already in the search of the truth. Another example is about God saying in a hadith Qudsi, which is a divine speech spoken by the Prophet's own words, when a servant wants to approach God, if the servant, meaning the creation, goes to him one, say, handspan, God comes to him like an arm span. If it goes to God one arm span, God comes to him like a 2 arm span, meaning he has more initiative. If you go to him walking, God comes to you running, figuratively. Think about what it means. If you approach to him, God approaches to you even more to give you the truth and the guidance. So if someone is really seeking the truth, sincerely and honestly, and you say, God, guide me, he will give you the guidance. He will bring you the guidance towards you. That's how he's coming close to you. That's his mercy and his grace to you. So your case is different. But I'm saying people who, having been presented the evidence, then becomes arrogant and stubborn.
It's difficult for me to
That's-
believe that these people exist, because if you
I agree.
It's very
How
difficult.
can people behave like that? But the reality is there are people like that, because that's what comes called arrogance and stubbornness. And I want to bring this one very fine example for this. Shaitan or Satan,
Yeah.
when he was commanded, prostrate to Adam. Everyone prostrated. Kulluhum ajma'in. Every angel, everyone prostrated who received the command, right? Except this one individual. God asked him, why did you not prostrate when I commanded you to? If I commanded you to take your own life, you should have done that, because I'm the one giving you your life. I could have given you life again. I'm just adding this just to understand that. When I commanded you, me, God commanded to you, why did you not prostrate? Look at his rationalization. You created Adam from clay, and you created me from smokeless fire. I'm better than him. Ana khayrun min. I'm better than him. He was arrogant. His pride came into it. So now, okay, fine. Let's say someone's
This is despite him talking directly to God.
to God. So now, he should have then realized, like, I've just disobeyed a command of God. He could have said sorry. Instead of said sorry, he now said, now that you have misguided me, when he misguided himself, give me respite. Give me the chance to live until the end of the world, so that I can take as many people to hell with me. Now look at, not only arrogant and stubborn, he's now so much hatred and bigotry against the human beings. Because he now realizes he's going to go to hellfire because of his pride and arrogance. He understands that, he appreciates, he accepts it. He says, you know what? I want to take the reason why I'm going to hellfire because of whatever. I'm going to take them with me, as many as I can.
It also says that he denies the truth. So he knows it's true, but he denies it.
Yeah, no, he knows the truth, but he became stubborn and arrogant to become sorry and become obedient to God. That was his crime. So even Shaitan, in front of God, is able to become disobedient. You'll say, how can you imagine? Imagine now someone, just for the sake of it, imagine God is here, and somebody says, I reject you. How can you? He can turn you into a potato or a banana or a mashed potato. But the level of arrogance people have is unbelievable. That is the pride some people have, that they think they are something. And this prevents people from surrendering and submitting to God, because submitting to God means you take away all your pride and all your arrogance. You humble yourself lower to what you think than yourself, becoming lower and someone higher than you acknowledging that.
So in the concept of Islam, that would have made sense. It's making sense.
Okay?
To say that, look, you know the truth, you reject it, hellfire. In the example that I'm giving is that someone doesn't know, really seeking, but it doesn't come in the conclusion to believe in Islam.
No Muslim will tell you that he's going to hellfire. If someone doesn't know and is seeking, their cases are different. Each case,
Fair enough.
individual case by case.
Their test on Judgment Day is a
Yeah,
different test.
they're case by case individually. But one has to make sure that
That it
if
is
you're on a journey, that they're positively seeking the truth. And they are willing to accept the truth wherever it is. And they're making all their efforts. If they say, you know what, I'll try to find out when I'm old. Not acceptable. Or when I'm just about to die, I believe. You know what happened? Interestingly, when Moses the Prophet ﷺ, was crossing the Red Sea, or the sea that got, he parted in with his staff, he crossed it over. The Pharaoh, who were chasing with his army, the water came together. He's now drowning. You know what he says? Look at him. He says, now I believe. Now I believe. God says, Al-an? No, it will not be accepted of you. But I will make you a sign for the posterity. I will save you and your body so that people will know for later. But that's not the issue. The issue is the Pharaoh, look, He could see the oceans or the sea split. No one can do that.
I see that. I'll believe
Exactly.
right now.
Exactly.
I mean,
I want to make. I want to make. Tony, I want to make this point. Look, he saw that in front of his eyes. No magician of his can do that. It's something that is undoable. So it's a miracle. He saw the miracle. He was still chasing Prophet Moses to kill him and bring them back, whatever, like to his captivity. Now, when the water comes and he's about to die, he said, "No, oh God, I believe." No. So believe is not acceptable at the point of death when it's too late. We have to really seek the truth of Islam and accepting it before that time comes. And no one knows when that can come. I can just fall dead right now and 20 seconds later. No one knows. So our role and responsibility is consciously being aware, seeking the truth, knowing the truth, accept it, and then live by it.
Because this one I spoke with another person, another Muslim, and he was telling me, if you die a disbeliever in the state that you are now, you will go to hellfire.
No, maybe he hasn't explained. Maybe there was some kind of barrier in explanation.
You explain it better.
So we, as you said, there are three kinds of people who, for them, the pen is lifted. And I mentioned to you, the one who is insane, for example, the one who has not reached the age of maturity. What's the other? Do you remember any other one? Another one? I can't remember exactly. But as I explained, if you are incapacitated, you are not accountable. So your judgment is totally different. In the day of judgment, God has other judgment tests for them. Like children when they die, disbeliever children, they probably have a test. And one of the tests, as we know also, is this: God will test them like, okay, jump into the fire. If they know that's God, they should jump in the fire. But if they didn't, then they are disbeliever, and then they'll go to the test is done for them. So various kind of testing mechanism is available. It's why, because God is just. God is not unjust. لَيْسَ بِالظَّلَّامِ لِلْعَبِيدِ. Not even to the least, he's unjust to his creation. That's how Islam gives you the picture of a God who is fair and just, someone that you can really appreciate and submit willingly and sincerely. Say, God, I believe in you. I will really submit to you. That's why you give him all the gratitude, thanks and glory, reverence and love to God. Because worship is not just out of fear. Worship is loving God, fearing his punishment, hoping his reward. All of that combined. It's not just you just worship because you fear hellfire, but you love God. The one who created everything, who was always there. That's the possibility. The universe is always there, God is always there. Don't you want to know who that is? Someone who didn't have a beginning, someone who's always there. That is the utmost inquiry people can have. A disbeliever will never see God, because having the vision of God, God made this as a reward for people who believe.
Okay, one more question. For example, for example, in Islam, do you have like how to say now in English? Sorry, excuse my English. I mean, do you have like miracles in a way, like I wake up, for example, and I saw something to pass or whatever. For example, I have Christian friends that they're telling me, I saw Jesus in front of me. And I am truly convinced that Christianity is the truth. So, and they really mean it that. They don't lie. I mean, or they saw something, or they are something in the brain going bad, or something happening. But this person believes that he saw Jesus with all his heart. What do you think about that in not only Christianity but in other religions as well? Why do God allows this thing to happen to other people to divert from the truth, as you say?
So it's not diverting the truth, because what these people are experiencing are subjective personal experiences. Okay, many people, whether the Hindus and so on, they see their idols apparently drinking milk, but we know it's capillary suction because that's how their idols is designed. Okay, if you put it like that, it will suck in the milk of capillary suction. But anyway, it's a treachery and deception, but that's another thing. But there are people who experience this. But what people don't question is this: who did you see? Did you see God? How do you know God looked like that? How do you know Jesus looked like that? The dream that you had. How do you know Jesus looks like that? No one knows how it looked like. But people describe, I have a vision. Because we say, look, even Muslims can have visions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, true vision, as opposed to like anyone else. But we don't make this as a basis of determining what is true or false.
Okay.
Because people's personal experiences
Doesn't count.
can be interpreted differently, yeah, by even themselves. So you can't make that as a basis of evidence and arbitration of truth and falsehood. So that's why Islam doesn't allow any of these kinds of things to determine truth or veracity of something. But this is personal experiences, which can be true, which can be false, which can be a test. Yeah, because it could be devil impersonating and says, "Look, you've seen me, Jesus." How did you know that was Jesus or something, or Krishna or whatever, right? God tells us there will be various kinds of tests, but don't just rely on your dreams and visions, okay? God tells us that when He reveals to people about Himself, He will tell you who He is, that He is the one and only creator of the heavens and the earth, not a human being, not a tree.
There's actually a parable of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani to this effect as well.
Yeah.
I think he was fasting in the desert, and upon fasting for quite a few days, he saw what we describe as the Arsh of Allah. So what Allah is said to be
The throne.
the throne of Allah.
Yeah.
It's a great thing, it's huge. So he looked from one side of the sky to the other side, and it almost filled the sky. And this voice came from the Arsh, and it said, Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, for all of your service, today you have been granted Jannah. And Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani looked from one side to the other side, saw the extent of this Arsh, and he said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And this Arsh disappeared. And it was Iblis, it was Satan. And he said,
There's no power and no might, la hawla wa la quwwata, except from God. When he said, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, there's no power and might except God. And that brought his
that
vision
image of the Arsh disappear.
So
So then Iblis came to him and said, how could you possibly have known? It's your knowledge, it's your advanced knowledge that has saved you.
Yeah.
And then Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani then saw that as a further trick, and he said, no, it's the grace of God that saved me today. It was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's grace. And at that, Shaitan was very upset, because he's like, this was my second attack on you. Now I just tried to attack your ego by telling you it was your knowledge that saved you. And even Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani refuted that and said, no, it's the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's what has saved me.
So there are various
there are
examples,
many
many examples like this in the Islamic literature, where we had pious Muslims. They're like walking on water and so on and so forth. They're called karamat, okay, as opposed to miracles.
In Islam, do you have saints? Like saints?
No. People try to make them saints, but in Islam we say no, there is no such thing as saints. Every believer who's righteous and becoming closer to God, they are waliullah, or the saints. But some people, they become Sufism type religion type thing.
I wanted to ask about that as
yeah,
well.
Yeah.
About
So,
Sufism and about
what
Shia,
happens?
Sunni and
yeah,
all
yeah.
that things.
I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
So they've made into some like, oh, you have to follow this particular order, do this kind of worship in this way, and so on. This is slight deviation from what it is. But the reality is, this kind of miraculous things is reported by many pious Muslims. But we don't make or base this as evidence for Islam.
In Hinduism, their Bhagwan sometimes manifested in God. They're asking them to kill your children and you will get everlasting life. And they then killed their children. So many cases been reported in Kerala.
Really?
Yeah. You can
So how people can be deceived easily.
If you
But
go back to Shaitan and what his mission is, he's made his sole mission to deviate us from the straight path. That is his sole goal. So if you believe that's the case, then all of these other paths that we just described are possible.
you don't.
What is it with you guys? I don't know.
We'll wrap this up then. Don't be impatient. No. He's trying to clarify many aspects of Islam. So we believe that God, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, personal name, Allah, has given us this Islam. The Prophet of Islam, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, explained how to exercise and practice this Islam. People are doing this, those who follow the Prophet and his students, called his companions. Ma ana alayhi wa ashabi. The Prophet says, what I am on and what is my companions on.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, over a historical time period, people deviated from this path and made factions and other groups and departed from this, and they called themselves Shia. Initially it was political, but then became theological. Okay? Some of the Shias believe they control, their imams control every single atom of the universe, which is totally a disbelief, because God is the one who controls every atom of the universe, no one else. He has not given this to any other creation of God, but they believe the Imams of the power. So as you can see, when people deviate from the truth, this is where many factions and groups and what we call firqa appears.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one which is called the saved sect, if you want to call sects, is the one that is the Prophet and what his companions on, because God told in the Quran that radiyallahu anhum wa radu anhum, that he is pleased with the companions and they're pleased with them. So this is what you should take your knowledge from about Islam. Okay, so that's in a very brief what Muslims should be. If you become Muslim what we call Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, people of Sunnah, meaning people of the Prophet's examples and his teachings. So whatever the Prophet taught, Sunnah. So if you heard of Sunni Muslims, that's what it means. Following the Sunnah, his teachings of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because he came to tell you what the Quran is like, and he was the walking Quran, demonstrating how to be a Muslim.
Makes sense. I have much more questions, but I mean, if you want
but-
to go now,
but what we're saying
I
is-
research all of these things.
Look, I don't want to now say like, okay, I mean, are you happy enough to become a Muslim? You choose Islam, but choose Islam not delaying it, because you know Islam makes sense. Explanation is resonating with your heart and mind. The evidence that is provided, check them and verify them.
I would say
Once
Islam for me is more, it makes a little bit more sense than other religions,
Yeah.
but still is not. I have much more questions. to
Yeah,
deal with.
ask
I'll
and
ask
get
this question,
clarification.
yeah, of course.
And the more evidences that comes to you and you understand the evidence, then ask yourself, why am I oblivious to the evidence? Why am I not reacting to the evidence? The evidence demonstrates the truth of Islam. That's what I was seeking. So I should now accept it. That's why our invitation to you. Be a Muslim and save yourself from the hellfire, and may God guide you and guide all of us closer to the truth.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
It was
Thank you.
lovely to discuss with you. I learned
Pleasure.
a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You take care and
Take
hope
care.
to speak to you again.
Why not? Why not? I will try to come more often here. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.